My girlfriend wanted us to date other people to test my loyalty. She didn't realize I couldn't be chained. My girlfriend Emma sat me down on a Tuesday night and said she wanted us to see other people for 3 months. Not break up, just date around while staying together. She said it would prove whether what we had was real or just comfortable. I looked at her for about 5 seconds and said okay. She blinked. That's it? Just okay? You're not going to fight for us? I shrugged and told her if she needed to test our relationship, then we should test it. She got this weird look on her face, like I'd failed some invisible quiz she'd set up. She went quiet the rest of the night, checking her phone constantly and barely touching her dinner. The next day she texted me asking where I was going after work. I said the gym like always. She asked which gym and what time. When I got home, she wanted to know who I'd talked to and whether any women had approached me. By Friday, she was calling me twice during my lunch break, asking what I was eating, who I was eating with, whether I'd made plans for the weekend yet. I reminded her this was her idea and she got defensive, saying she was just curious about my day. Then I started noticing the car. A gray sedan that seemed to be parked near my work, near the grocery store, near my apartment, different spots, but always within view. I thought I was being paranoid until I saw the same car outside the coffee shop on Saturday morning. Emma called while I was getting coffee. She asked if I'd met anyone interesting yet. I said no, and heard her let out this breath like she'd been holding it. She said good, and then caught herself, saying she meant it was fine either way because this was about testing our bond. I went to meet my friend Kyle for lunch, and the gray sedan followed me. I didn't say anything to Kyle, just watched it park 3 spaces down. When I left, it followed me home. That night, Emma showed up at my apartment unannounced. She'd never done that before, always texted first. She walked around my place like she was looking for something, checked my bedroom, my bathroom, even opened my closet. I asked what she was doing and she said she was just seeing how I lived when she wasn't around. On Monday, I took a different route to work and the gray sedan was gone, but there was a black SUV instead. I pulled over suddenly and watched it drive past, then circle back. The windows were tinted, but I could see someone taking photos. I called Emma. She answered on the first ring, which she never did. I asked if she was having me followed and she laughed too loud. Too fake. Why would I do that? This is about trust. Remember? I started documenting everything. Times, locations, vehicles. I took photos of the cars. I checked my apartment for cameras and found nothing, but my mailbox had been opened when I knew I'd locked it. Emma's questions got more specific. She wanted to know the names of my coworkers, where I was going to be each night, whether I'd downloaded any dating apps yet. When I said I hadn't, she seemed upset, asking why not. Wasn't I interested in meeting someone new? Her friend Rachel reached out to me on Instagram. We'd met a few times at parties. She asked if I wanted to grab drinks, said Emma had mentioned we were seeing other people and she'd always thought I was cute. The message felt scripted, rehearsed. I met Rachel anyway. We went to a bar downtown and she asked pointed questions about my relationship with Emma, about whether I'd ever cheated, ever thought about it, what my type was. She kept checking her phone and looking at the door. The next morning, Emma called crying. She said she'd heard I went out with Rachel, and how could I move on so fast? I reminded her again that this was her idea. She said she didn't think I'd actually do it. I went to my car and found a GPS tracker stuck under the wheel well. Professional grade, the kind with real-time updates. I left it there and drove to Emma's apartment. She answered the door and her face went white when she saw me. Before she could say anything, I asked who hired her. That's when I saw the contract on her kitchen table, and the rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. Who hired you? I repeated, staring at the contract on Emma's kitchen table. The page was filled with legal jargon, but certain phrases jumped out at me. Fidelity assessment, behavioral monitoring, and relationship stress testing. At the bottom was Emma's signature, dated 3 weeks before she'd suggested we date other people. Emma's face had gone from white to ashen. She reached for the contract, but I snatched it first, scanning the details. $20,000 for a 3-month operation, surveillance protocols, reporting requirements, everything meticulously outlined. I can explain, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Please do. My voice was eerily calm, even to my own ears. Explain why you've been running some kind of twisted loyalty test on me. Emma sank into a kitchen chair. It's my job. I work for Veritas Partners. She gestured weakly at the contract. We're hired to test relationships, usually by wealthy people who want to make sure their partners aren't just after their money. And who exactly hired you to test me? I'm not exactly dating a billionaire. I slapped the contract back onto the table. I can't tell you that. Client confidentiality. She looked up at me, eyes pleading. This wasn't personal. It's what I do. Wasn't personal? I laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet apartment. You've been gaslighting me for weeks, having me followed. You had Rachel try to seduce me. You planted a GPS tracker on my car. How is that not personal? She flinched at each accusation. The client pays us to create scenarios that test fidelity. The dating other people's suggestion, the jealousy, the opportunity with Rachel, they're all standard protocols. And the surveillance, the gray sedan, the black SUV taking photos, our field team. Emma's voice had taken on a detached, professional tone that made my skin crawl. We document everything. The sedan team reports your movements. The SUV team gathers photographic evidence. I paced her kitchen, trying to process the magnitude of this betrayal. So, our entire relationship was fake? Just a 3-month assignment? No. Emma stood up suddenly. We were real before this. I was approached about you specifically. The client offered $20,000, and I took the job. I thought it would be easy because I already knew you were loyal. Then why agree to test me at all? Because that's how it works. The client doesn't just want to hear my opinion. They want documented proof. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I never expected you to figure it out. No one ever has before. Something cold settled in my chest. How many other people have you done this to? 7 in the past 2 years. She wouldn't meet my eyes. But you're the only one I was actually dating first. I walked to her living room window, looking out at the street below. And Rachel? She works for this Veritas company too? Emma nodded. She's part of the Temptation team. She reports directly to the client. I turned back to her. Are there cameras in my apartment? Her hesitation told me everything. Where? I demanded. Living room bookshelf, bedroom alarm clock, bathroom medicine cabinet. She recited the locations mechanically. They're designed to look like normal objects. I felt violated in ways I couldn't even articulate. articulate. Strangers had been watching me in my most private moments. For how long? Weeks? Months? I want them removed. Today. All of them. I'll call the tech team, she agreed quickly. They can be there within an hour. I shook my head. No, you're coming with me now. We're going to my apartment, and you're going to show me every single device. I'll remove them myself. Emma grabbed her purse without argument. As we headed for the door, she paused. I know this doesn't fix anything, but I'll give you half the payment. $10,000. It's the least I can do. The offer felt like another insult. I don't want your blood money. I want every piece of footage, every photo, every report destroyed. All of it. I can arrange that, she said quietly. But the client, I don't care about your client. If they want to know if I'm loyal, they can ask me to my face. In my car, Emma sat silently beside me, occasionally glancing at her phone. I wondered if she was texting her team, warning them that their operation had been compromised. The thought made me check my rearview mirror, half expecting to see the gray sedan following us. Why did you cry when Rachel told you we went out? I asked suddenly. Was that part of the act too? Emma looked down at her hands. Not entirely. I knew it was a setup, but I still hated the thought of you with her. That part was real. I didn't know what to believe anymore. Every moment, every conversation, every touch now felt calculated and observed. Our entire relationship had been rewritten in the span of 20 minutes. When we reached my apartment, Emma moved methodically through each room, pointing out the cameras. The bookshelf camera was disguised as a small Bluetooth speaker. The alarm clock had a pinhole lens I would never have noticed. The medicine cabinet camera was hidden behind the mirror. I removed each one, placing them in a pile on my coffee table. 7 devices in total, more than she'd initially admitted to. Is that all of them? I asked, my voice hard. Emma nodded. That's everything in your apartment. And the GPS tracker on my car? I'll remove it before I leave. I stared at the pile of surveillance equipment. How do I know this is really over? That your client won't just hire someone else to keep watching me? Emma looked up at me, and for the first time since I'd confronted her, I saw genuine emotion in her eyes. You don't, she said simply, and that's the worst part of what we've done to you. I spent the next 3 days in a paranoid haze, jumping at every car that passed my apartment and checking under my vehicle each morning. The GPS tracker was gone. Emma had removed it as promised, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The empty spaces where the cameras had been seemed to mock me, little wounds in my daily routine. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined strangers watching footage of me, analyzing my movements, discussing my private moments. So I did what I always do when I feel powerless. I researched. What I found terrified me. Fidelity testing wasn't just some niche service. It was a thriving industry. Dozens of companies with innocuous names like Veritas Partners, Loyalty Assessments, and Relationship Verification Services operated in major cities. Their websites used euphemisms like peace of mind and certainty and commitment, but the reality was much darker. I found forums where relationship testers shared tactics. They discussed optimal camera placement, how to manipulate targets into compromising situations, and ways to break down someone's mental defenses. One thread, titled Breaking Point Techniques, had over 3,000 replies. The open relationship suggestion works 87% of the time, wrote one user. Most targets either cheat within 2 weeks or reveal the test by becoming too suspicious. Another wrote, always use the friend approach first. The target's guard is down because they trust anyone in their partner's circle. I was still scrolling through these forums when my phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Client not satisfied with current results. Wants complete operation. Be careful. Before I could respond, I noticed a black SUV parked across from my apartment building. The same one from before. I ducked away from the window, heart pounding. Why weren't they stopping? I discovered their operation. The contract was exposed. What more could they possibly want? My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. We have everything. All footage preserved. Client wants confirmation of infidelity or operation continues. I felt sick. Emma had promised all surveillance material would be destroyed. Had she lied about that too? Or had the client refused to let it go? At work the next day, I couldn't focus. Every coworker's glance felt suspicious. During lunch, Kyle from accounting sat down across from me, his usual friendly smile replaced with something more hesitant. I need to tell you something, he said quietly, looking around to make sure no one was listening. I've been paid to report on your activities at work. I nearly choked on my sandwich. What? Some woman approached me 3 weeks ago, offered me $2,000 to keep track of who you talk to, especially female coworkers. He pushed his phone across the table, showing me a series of texts with detailed questions about my whereabouts and interactions. I didn't know what it was about, but I needed the money for my mom's medical bills. Did you report anything? I asked, scanning the messages. Nothing worth mentioning. You're the most boring guy here. Kyle attempted a smile. But yesterday, they asked me to invite you to a bar tonight. Said they'd pay extra if I could get you drunk and introduce you to a woman they'd send over. I pushed his phone back. And you're telling me this because it's fucked up, man. Whatever this is, it's gone too far. I'm out. When I got home that evening, I found an email waiting in my inbox. No subject line, just a series of attachments. I opened the first one with shaking hands. Photos, dozens of them. Me sleeping in my bed, eating breakfast, working at my desk, stepping out of the shower, all taken from inside my apartment, from angles that didn't match the cameras Emma had shown me. There were more cameras, hidden ones she hadn't revealed. The final photo showed me removing the cameras with Emma, captioned, "Test continues. Cooperation optional. Footage release imminent if operation compromised further." I slammed my laptop shut, breathing hard. This wasn't just a loyalty test anymore. It was blackmail. My phone rang. Emma, don't answer any calls or texts from unknown numbers, she said immediately. Meet me at Riverside Park in 30 minutes, northwest corner, by the old boathouse. Come alone and don't bring your phone. Why should I trust you? I demanded. You shouldn't, she replied, her voice breaking slightly. But right now, I'm the only one who can help you. I left my phone at home and took 3 different buses to reach the park, checking constantly for followers. Emma was already there, sitting on a bench overlooking the water. She looked different, hair pulled back, no makeup, wearing clothes I'd never seen before. The client won't stop, she said as I sat down, keeping distance between us. This isn't normal protocol. Usually when a target discovers the operation, we terminate immediately. immediately. Who is this client? What do they want from me? Emma shook her head. I don't know. Most clients are wealthy individuals vetting potential partners, but this is different. The client is paying 5 times our normal rate and demanding the operation continue despite your awareness. They're threatening to release footage of me. I said, that's illegal. Everything about this is illegal, Emma replied. The surveillance, the tracking, all of it. But these clients operate above the law. They have resources and connections. She handed me a small device. This detects wireless signals. Use it to find any remaining cameras in your apartment. I pocketed it. Why are you helping me now? Because I never signed up for this level of harassment. Testing someone's fidelity is one thing. Psychological torture is another. She looked at me directly. And because I really did care about you. That part wasn't fake. I didn't know if I believed her, but I needed allies. What do? We find out who the client is, Emma said firmly. Turn their tactics against them. I still have access to the agency's systems. If we can identify the client, we can end this. For the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. I was done being the target. It was time to become the hunter. I'm in, I said. Where do we start? Emma's expression hardened. We follow the money. Every operation has a paper trail, and I know exactly where to look. As we left the park separately, I spotted a gray sedan slowly circling the perimeter. The game was still on, but now I knew the rules, and I was ready to break them. The GPS tracker turned out to be our Trojan horse into the entire operation. Emma had removed it from my car as promised, but instead of destroying it, she'd kept it active. They're still monitoring the signal, she explained as we huddled over her laptop in a 24-hour diner 3 towns away. And if they're monitoring it, we can trace the monitoring center, I finished, watching as she typed commands into a terminal window, the screen filled with scrolling text that meant nothing to me but seemed to excite Emma. Got it, she said finally, turning the laptop so I could see a blinking dot on a map. Their main monitoring hub is in an office park in Westfield. Looks like a marketing firm called Precision Analytics. So what now? We can't exactly walk in and demand answers. Emma's smile was tight. We don't need to. I still have my login credentials for their system. They'll have changed my access level after I went off script with you, but I should still be able to get into the basic client database. It took 3 hours of Emma typing furiously, occasionally cursing under her breath. I watched the sky lighten outside the diner windows, nursing my 5th cup of coffee and wondering how my life had spiraled into a paranoid thriller movie. I'm in, Emma finally whispered, her face illuminated by the screen's blue glow. Holy shit. I moved to her side of the booth. The screen showed a client profile with a familiar face. Jackson Reeves, the tech billionaire whose face regularly appeared on business magazines. His net worth was estimated at $14.3 billion. Why would Jackson Reeves care about me? I asked, bewildered. Emma scrolled through the file. He's not testing you directly. You're listed under... Oh my god. She looked up at me. You're dating his daughter. What? No, I'm dating... I stopped, the realization hitting me like a truck. Emma, you're Jackson Reeves' daughter? She shook her head. No. But according to this, I was hired to pose as his daughter to test you. She scrolled further. There are notes here about my performance and suggestions for how to make the relationship seem more authentic. My head was spinning. So, you're not even Emma? I am, she insisted, grabbing my hand. My name is Emma Winters. That part is real. But I was hired to pretend to be Emma Reeves, to make you think you were dating into money without knowing it. I pulled my hand away. So, our entire relationship was completely fabricated. Not completely, she said quietly. The agency hired me because I fit a profile. But everything that happened between us, that wasn't in any script. I wasn't sure I believed her, but we had bigger problems. Emma continued scrolling through the database, her expression growing more troubled. You're not the only one, she said. There are 11 other targets currently being tested, all dating women who are supposedly connected to Reeves. Why would he do this? Emma clicked on a different file. According to this brief, Reeves is vetting potential sons-in-law for his actual daughter, Olivia. She's 25 and apparently dating someone he doesn't approve of. He's building a portfolio of suitable alternatives that have been thoroughly vetted. That's insane, I said, but Emma wasn't listening. She was downloading files, copying them to a flash drive. We need to contact the other targets, she said. If we all come forward together, Reeves can't silence everyone. Over the next week, we reached out to the other men being tested. Some were skeptical until we showed them evidence of their own surveillance. Others had already suspected something was wrong. By the end of the week, we had formed an alliance of 8 men, all victims of Reeves' twisted vetting process. We compiled evidence, surveillance photos, GPS tracking data, copies of contracts, and testimonials from 3 girlfriends, including Emma, who were willing to come forward. The entire operation violated dozens of privacy laws and constituted criminal harassment. Reeves is attending the Children's Hospital Gala this Saturday, Emma said during our final planning meeting. It's the perfect place to confront him, public enough that he can't make a scene, private enough that we can speak freely. Getting into the gala required calling in every favor I had, but by Saturday night, I was standing in a rented tuxedo at the edge of a ballroom, watching Jackson Reeves work the room like the billionaire he was. Ready? Emma asked, looking stunning in a borrowed evening gown. I nodded, and we approached Reeves as he stepped away from a group of donors. His smile faltered slightly when he saw Emma. Mr. Reeves, I said quietly, we need to talk about your fidelity testing program. The color drained from his face. I don't know what you're talking about. We have everything, I said, sliding a thumb drive into his hand. GPS tracking, illegal surveillance, harassment of 12 men through fake relationships. Your entire operation exposed. Reeves recovered quickly, his expression hardening. Let's discuss this privately. In a small office off the main ballroom, Reeves transformed from charming philanthropist to cold businessman. What do you want? He asked. Money? A job? Name your price. We want the operation shut down, I said. All surveillance equipment removed, all footage destroyed. Reeves laughed. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I can bury you in legal proceedings for years. Or, Emma interjected, we can release everything to the press tonight. Your choice. Reeves studied us for a long moment. $1 million each for your silence. The operation ends tonight. I was shocked by the offer, but even more shocked when, one by one, the other targets accepted the money. Within days, our alliance had crumbled, with only me and 2 others holding firm against Reeves' payoffs. Take the money, Emma urged me. He's offering you financial freedom. I shook my head. This isn't about money. It's about making sure he can't do this to anyone else. Then what do you want? Reeves asked during our final meeting, looking tired and irritated. Dismantle the entire system, I said firmly. Shut down Veritas Partners and every other agency you use. Destroy all surveillance data and leave your daughter's dating life alone. Reeves leaned forward. You don't understand what's at stake. My daughter is an adult who deserves privacy, I interrupted. Just like the 12 men you've been stalking. For a moment, I thought he might agree. Then his expression hardened. You've made your choice, he said coldly. I hope you're prepared for the consequences. As Emma and I left his office, I felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. Reeves could destroy my career, my reputation, possibly my entire future. But for the first time since finding that contract on Emma's kitchen table, I felt like I was back in control of my own life. What now? Emma asked as we stood on the sidewalk. Now, I said, watching a black SUV pull up across the street. We see how far he's willing to go. Reeves wasted no time making good on his threats. By Monday morning, my work email was flooded with messages from the HR department about concerning allegations. My boss called me into his office, his expression grave as he slid a manila folder across his desk. Care to explain these? He asked. Inside were doctored photos showing me stealing equipment from work, screenshots of fake messages where I'd supposedly shared confidential company information, and a fabricated performance review citing erratic behavior and concerning interactions with female colleagues. None of this is real, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I'm being targeted by someone with resources. My boss sighed. Look, I don't know what kind of trouble you're in, but we can't have this kind of drama here. We're putting you on administrative leave while we investigate. I walked out with a cardboard box of my belongings, aware of coworkers watching through glass walls. In the parking lot, the black SUV sat waiting, its tinted windows reflecting the morning sun. A warning, a reminder that Reeves was always watching. That evening, Emma arrived at my apartment looking shaken. They've frozen my accounts. Emma, she said, and my landlord received evidence that I've been running a drug operation from my apartment. I've been evicted. We were huddled on my couch, comparing notes on Reeves's retaliation, when my phone buzzed with a news alert. The headline made my heart stop. Exclusive. Billionaire's secret surveillance empire exposed. Someone had leaked Veritas Partners' entire client list to the media. Did you do this? Emma asked, eyes wide. I shook my head. No, but I think I know who did. The whistleblower was Rachel, Emma's colleague who had tried to seduce me as part of the test. She'd gone to the Washington Post with everything contracts, surveillance footage, client lists, and internal communications. The story was exploding across social media, with celebrities, politicians, and business leaders exposed for hiring agencies to test their partners, children, and employees. Jackson Reeves isn't the only billionaire using these services, Rachel told reporters. This is an entire industry built on violating people's privacy and manipulating their emotions. By morning, the story had gone viral. My phone rang constantly with reporters seeking comments. I ignored them all, watching instead as the dominoes began to fall. The FBI announced an investigation into illegal surveillance practices. Class action lawsuits were being filed against Veritas Partners and similar agencies. Politicians were calling for new privacy protection laws. Emma sat beside me, scrolling through news updates. They're offering immunity deals to agency employees who come forward, she said quietly. I looked at her. Are you going to testify? Yes. Her voice was firm. I need to make this right, not just for you, but for everyone who's been targeted. The next week passed in a blur of legal meetings and depositions. Emma provided investigators with access codes and documentation that blew the case wide open. Rachel revealed that Reeves had tested his own wife using similar methods before their marriage, setting a pattern he'd continue with his daughter's potential partners. He justified it as protection, Rachel explained during a televised interview. He said he was saving people from making the same mistakes he did in his first marriage, but it was really about control. The most damning revelation came when Olivia Reeves, Jackson's daughter, discovered her father's testing operation through the news. She appeared on a morning talk show, visibly shaken but determined. My father had no right to violate these people's privacy, she said. I've cut ties with him completely, and to the men who were targeted, I am so deeply sorry for what was done to you in my name. 3 weeks after the story broke, federal agents raided Precision Analytics, shutting down the monitoring center and seizing evidence. Similar operations across the country were being dismantled. The industry was collapsing under the weight of public outrage and legal scrutiny. I was reinstated at my job with an apology and back pay. Emma's reputation was partially rehabilitated through her cooperation with authorities. Reeves himself faced multiple lawsuits and a congressional hearing where he appeared significantly less imposing than he had in that charity gala office. In the aftermath, I connected with other victims across the country. We formed a privacy advocacy group, sharing our stories and pushing for stronger laws against surveillance and psychological manipulation. Our experiences varied, but the trauma was universal, the feeling that nowhere was safe, that every interaction might be staged. Emma called one evening as I was preparing testimony for a Senate committee hearing on privacy rights. Can we meet? She asked. There's something I need to say in person. We met at a park bench neutral territory, open space, no chance of hidden cameras. Emma looked different now, more like herself and less like the character she'd been playing. I wanted to apologize, she said, looking directly at me, not just for the operation, but for everything after, for not being completely honest about who I was. Were any of it real? I asked the question that had haunted me for months. Emma's eyes filled with tears. More than I expected. That's what makes this so complicated. I took the job because I needed the money, but somewhere along the way, I started forgetting it was an assignment. The night you found the contract, I was going to tell you everything. Why should I believe that? You shouldn't, she said simply. I've given you every reason not to trust me, but I wanted you to know that what I felt, what I still feel, wasn't part of any script. I studied her face, searching for signs of manipulation, finding only raw vulnerability. Part of me wanted to believe her, to imagine a world where something real had grown grown from such artificial beginnings. I can't go back, I said finally. There's too much damage. She nodded, wiping away tears. I understand. I just needed you to know. As Emma walked away, I felt a complex mix of grief and relief. The surveillance equipment was gone. The watchers had been exposed, but the most lasting damage had been to my ability to trust. Every relationship would now begin with a question. Is this real? Is someone watching? What's the hidden agenda? Yet despite everything, I refused to let paranoia define me. The world was full of people testing each other in small ways, looking for reassurance of loyalty and love. Reeves had simply industrialized a universal human impulse, turning natural insecurity into something monstrous. I watched Emma disappear around the corner and turned my face toward the setting sun. No cameras recorded the moment. No one analyzed my expression or reported my movements. For the first time in months, I was truly alone with my thoughts, and that privacy felt like the most precious freedom of all.